What's up, YouTube? You're Inside the Edge, and I'm back with another video. Thank you guys for tuning in. I have a quick commentary for you guys today. I was going to do a camera video, but it seems like my camera is still down at the moment, but the content still continues, guys. So I got you guys covered. Today I want to get into some football. I want to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I want to talk about Kenny Pickett. I feel like there's a lot of scrutiny around him. There's a lot of opinions about him. And there's been a lot of reports circulating around him being the starter for next season and being the quarterback moving forward. We heard the GM speak a lot about Pickett and his impact on this team, the future with this team. And it seems like the Steelers are going in a direction where they want to revamp this offense, revamp Pickett, and bringing in Arthur Smith to be the new offensive coordinator. It seems like that's the move that the Steelers are going with. And it just seems like there's still a lot that needs to be, handled in Pittsburgh. But I know that there's a lot of Pittsburgh fans that feels like, there needs to be a new direction in quarterback. When you look at Mason Rudolph, the way he's pretty much taken over the team, and, for Pickett to be benched, it just seems like a lot of Steeler fans was riding with Rudolph. But here we are in the offseason, guys, and this is when it's time to rebuild. And I think the Steelers can rebuild around Pickett, and I think that this offense can be explosive if the Steelers, can really, get players in this draft that can all come together where they can have a powerhouse offense with Arthur Smith. Now, before I start, this video, I definitely want to shout out to Terry Bradshaw. I know he has his opinions about the Steelers and Pickett, and I want to play you guys a clip because everything he said in this clip is exactly what I've been saying for a few, months now about Pickett and how I feel about the Steelers. And here's a short clip of what he said about the Steelers quarterback.
What's your opinion on who should be the Steelers starting quarterback this coming season, Terry?
I love Pickett.
You do?
Kenny Pickett is I tell you what, Rich, I know him well, and he's fiercely competitive. He's tough-minded kid. Things don't bother him. I really like him a lot. Look, I'm going to say this for the 10,000th time this year. Surround not only Kenny, but any of these young quarterbacks, the kid with the Bears, surround them with talent. Why is Purdy successful with the 49ers, Rich? Look at all that talent and look at that coach calling plays. And that kid's got the poise.
All right, guys. Now, to piggyback of what Terry Bradshaw said in his interview, I think he kind of diced up everything pretty well. I pretty much feel the same way. I think one thing that Terry said that was brilliant was poise. That's one thing a quarterback must have in the pocket is poise. And I think that was the biggest struggle with Pickett's last year was, it just seems like whenever the offensive line was breaking down or collapsing, it just seems like, Pickett didn't buy enough time and he just would just run and scramble out the pocket, before the line actually collapses. And it just broke down a lot of the offensive plays for the Steelers. So, looking at the Steelers, it all starts with the offensive line. And even looking at the Steelers, they only just allowed 36 sacks last year in 2023. It's the ninth fewest in the league last year. So, not that the Steelers' offensive line was bad, but I just think Pickett's, his pocket presence definitely put, the Steelers' offense in shambles. I think that's one, technique and mechanics that, Pickett has to develop is just his pocket presence. And I think that's something that Mason Rudolph had better than him and even Trubisky. I think Mason Rudolph, he just seems like that quarterback that he kind of was aggressive in the pocket and just allowing plays to develop down the field. And I think that's one thing that Kenny Pickett has to be able to, understand and process because it's problematic, guys. The way Pickett scrambles out the pocket, it's wild sometimes. But I do think that if he's more comfortable with his offense and his checkdowns and, Arthur Smith can be a guy that can make the game more simpler for Kenny Pickett, I think that this can be a quarterback that will have major improvement next season, guys. Now, looking at Arthur Smith, again, guys, I think he has to make the game easy for Kenny Pickett to be creative, try to get Deontay Johnson in open space, get Calvin Austin some reps in the passing game. This offense needs production at the running back situation. Looking at Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, these are two dependable running backs, but to be dependable, they have to be productive, guys. So looking at, Pickett, I think the run game can definitely help Pickett's, move the chains down the field. I think, the offensive line and just the running back situation, that has to come together. So that's another responsibility that I think Arthur Smith has to take care of. Arthur Smith, again, his creativity, making plays easy for Pickett, for him to read his checkdowns, improvement at the running game. It just seems like Pickett, he struggled last year. And just even when you look at the numbers of last year, he's only thrown for 2,070 yards. He has 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He completed 62% of his passes in a span of 12 games. And even in that 12 games, Pickett struggled, guys. Out of the 7 out of 12 games, he's thrown for 0 touchdowns. That is a recipe for disaster, guys. That cannot happen next season. And that's why I feel like Arthur Smith has a lot of responsibilities as far as how to get this team first downs, how to move the chains, how to get the most out of their players. And like I said, Calvin Austin, I think he's a Z receiver. I think he's a guy that you can put in the slot. George Pickens is a guy that you could put on the outside. He can win a lot of 50-50 balls thrown on the outside numbers. I think he could win a lot of those matchups. This Steelers roster isn't bad. I just think that things just has to come together for the Steelers for everything to operate. And I think that's what Arthur Smith's job is. So with that being said, guys, the point of this video is I want to say this. I think a lot of teams, a lot of organizations, like, again, I respect the Steelers and, their franchise. And I know that, the Steelers are, they want to get back to competing in the playoffs and going for Super Bowls. But you guys have to be patient, especially when it comes to a quarterback, guys. It takes usually 3 to 4 years to really, truly, truly, truly know what we see in a quarterback. A lot has to happen in order for a quarterback to succeed, whether it's the offensive line, it's the receivers, defense, special teams. A lot goes into what makes a quarterback successful. But you guys just can't throw Pickens under the bus after, 2 full seasons. I feel like that's not enough production for people to really say he's not our guy. I'm not saying he played the best within the past 2 seasons, but he had moments. He's won some big games for the Steelers last year. And again, I just think his situation wasn't the best. When you look at Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, those guys were put in position with, great coordination, good offensive coordinator, a lot of, good things, a lot of good coaching staffs. A lot of that stuff builds around a quarterback. And I don't think Pickett has had the same, rollout that, most of these other quarterbacks had. So I just would say, man, be patient for you Steelers fans. I still believe in Pickens. I think he can be a really good quarterback, but it's all about making the game simple. It's all about allowing the game to be simple for him, where he can read his checkdowns, where he can, have time in the pocket, but have creativity on offense. I think that's what Arthur Smith was brought to Pittsburgh for, because Canada, it just seems like he was a guy that was just predictable. His play calling was bad. But this is a new situation, guys. This is a new offseason, and I think Pittsburgh fans should be excited. And it's all about this year in free agency. It's all about what the Pittsburgh Steelers do in the offseason. So with that being said, guys, I want to hear you guys' thoughts. For you Steelers fans, how do you guys feel about Kenny Pickett? Do you think he should be your number 1? Do you think, the Steelers should move on from him? What are your thoughts? Until next time, guys, have a good day and God bless.